The CIA did not fail because of a lack of information. Nor did it fail because it performed the wrong function. The problem lies here. Within the US system, the institution that sees risk the earliest is not the one authorized to act the earliest. This is not an accidental paradox. It is a direct result of how the system allocates decision authority and political responsibility under conditions of uncertainty. The real question is not whether the CIA had enough information. Nor is it whether the CIA should have acted. The problem sits at the intersection between analysis and decision authority. Within the US system, the CIA is not the final decision maker. It exists as a component of the policy decision-making process, not as an independent instrument of action. This creates a structural paradox. The institution that perceives risk the earliest is not the one empowered to bear the political cost of early action. Action, in this context, is not merely a security choice. It is a political decision. Therefore, the real question is not, did the CIA know? It is, who's willing to assume political responsibility when action is proposed on the basis of still uncertain information? When the CIA is placed correctly within its institutional position, any so-called failure, if one exists, cannot be explained by a single cause. It is the result of multiple forces acting simultaneously on the decision-making process. The CIA always operates under conditions of incomplete information, not because of a lack of data, but because the nature of strategic intelligence is the management of probability, not certainty. The earlier the warning, the higher the uncertainty, and the higher the uncertainty, the greater the political cost of action. At the institutional level, the CIA has no authority to act independently. Every warning must pass through actors who carry direct political responsibility. In that context, analysis is not evaluated solely for its ability to describe reality, but also for how effectively it can be translated into action. When pressure to act emerges, the boundary between analysis and policy begins to compress. No explicit order is required. The system's implicit incentives and penalties are sufficient to shape how analysis is presented and used. All of this unfolds under time constraints. And time rarely favors early warning. Delay can reduce uncertainty, but it also allows risk to accumulate. These four forces do not operate in isolation. They reinforce one another and push the system into a state of structural hesitation. If these forces are real, they cannot exist only on paper. They must leave traces in how major decisions are formed, especially in cases where warnings existed, but action did not occur in time. Subsequent investigative reports show that the US intelligence community did not lack information about Al-Qaeda prior to 9/11. The problem was not the data. The problem was the absence of a mechanism to convert strategic warning into action. When no actor was willing to assume political responsibility if early action proved to be wrong, the CIA performed its function correctly, collecting, synthesizing, and issuing warnings. But early action was not merely a security decision. It was a political risk. The Iraq case reveals the symmetrical side of the same problem. Official assessments later concluded that this was an analytical failure, not a collection failure. The 2002 National Intelligence Estimate contained multiple assumptions, probabilistic judgments, and warnings regarding source reliability. But once the political decision tilted toward action, the role of analysis changed. Analysis no longer expanded the range of options. It was used to reduce uncertainty for a decision that had already taken shape. There is no evidence that the CIA was ordered to falsify data. The pressure came from how analysis was used within the decision-making process. This was not flawed analysis. It was analysis placed in the wrong position. These cases do not matter because they belong to the past. They matter because they reveal how a system processes warning. When action cannot yet be politically defended, the information environment has changed. The decision structure has not. Today, there is more data, greater speed, and broader visibility. But as speed increases and uncertainty does not diminish, the gap between analysis and action does not narrow. It widens. In modern systems, decisions are rarely triggered by new information. They are more often triggered when the cost of waiting begins to exceed the cost of acting. The information may have existed all along. What changes is the threshold for acceptable political risk.